Good morning, everybody. It is Andy Smith with your book look for the week. I can't remember if last week I said I wasn't doing one this week or not, because now when you're watching this, I am on an airplane flying to California for San Diego Comic-Con. Haven't been there in 6 years. Taking the family first time. All right. 34-year veteran of the comic book industry. Marvel, DC, Image Acclaim, CrossGen, just Google it or go to andysmithart.com. Guys, this book, The Know-How of Cartooning, Caricature, Animals, Figures, Perspective. Ken Hultgren, the legendary Walt Disney artist. If you're going, wait, that name rings a bell. It's because a few weeks ago, I did a book look featuring How to Draw and Cartoon Animals by Mr. Ken Hultgren. And it is one of the best animal drawing books out there. He also did a book just on cartooning as well, all aspects. So let's dive in. If you're new to the book look, it's where I grab a book off my shelf and go through it page by page. And if you like what you see, I pop a link in the description below so you can go buy it. This book was first published, let's see, the Dover edition in 2019. The work was originally published in 1946, and these rules still apply. Introductory exercises. Now, it's funny. I have really good brush control. I ink with a brush. Literally, it's a sable hair brush. It's round. It's a round brush head that goes to a nice point. And you look at stuff like this. When I was going to art school, I would fill up white pieces of paper just doing stuff like this, exercises, to practice my brushwork. A lot of this book, he leaves blank pages over here to practice on, which is cool if you don't have a sketchbook and stuff. Of course, when he wrote this back in the day, it was probably easier because all you needed was a pencil. Now people have digital tools and, of course, paper sketchbooks. Here he's talking about action, line of action, things like that. Approach. He doesn't go into tons of detail, so I don't know if I would say this book is great for a beginner, because a lot of it is kind of assuming stuff a person might already know. But here, using just spheres and egg shapes and things like that to build a figure, build different figures. The classic, I love this growing up as a kid, seeing this type of shape for the classic big guy, tough guy type. And of course, it was funny seeing this growing up. You can tell it's a snooty type of woman. But now you look at it, you're like, wow, that chick she could kick some butt. Look at the chin on her chest, all that stuff. Simple head construction. Remember, he was a Disney artist. This stuff works great. I could apply this to traditional comics like I do. Of course, for cartooning, this stuff works really well. Different shapes here to get different types of faces. Goes into a little bit of features and expressions. This is nice progression of age throughout the years. Looks like somebody maybe in their early 20s all the way up to 100-something years old. Exaggeration. I mean, some might say that's already exaggerated. That's really exaggerated. Squashing and stretching. That's a big rule of animation to show movement. You want to squash and stretch things, whether it's a ball, could be even a car. Of course, it works for people. Nice little section on hands. Like I said, you could tell this isn't super in-depth, and you would probably need another book as well. This is nice talking about lettering. He doesn't go into the type of tools, though. So if I just got this and I read it, I'd be like, yeah, but what type of pens are you using? But he does go into stuff like, that's way too crowded. In the word balloon, different ways of doing different types of lettering. And then, of course, animation, showing how animation would be done. Bouncing ball is the best way to show squash and stretch. So it's up in the air, and as it comes down, it's starting to elongate and elongate. Then it hits, and it really compresses. It squashes, and then it bounces up and elongates. The top is a circle, you know, basically the normal ball, and then rinse and repeat. And when you see this actually moving in animation, it just gives it more life. And here he's showing squash and stretch applied to cartoon animals. Here he's talking about adding weight to your figures. Little summation here on animals. Lisa, I think this book, you know, I said it a few times already. I'll say it again. I think if you have another book on that teaches, you know, proportion of figures and more in construction and stuff, and then you add this on to it, it would be a great help. Help you exaggerate and stuff. So even though this is drawn cartoony, you could apply this to a realistic drawing and then give the donkey's head, obviously, more realism to it, and you would get the same feeling out of a realistic drawing. It's a great lion head. So if you don't have his book on drawing animals, I highly recommend it. He goes into so much more detail. This is cool, talking about wrinkles, pulling and tension and stuff. Even as it applies to the skin. Going into caricature. Birds, nice little example of wings, a simple way to do them. So that's the thing I like about this is, you know, you might have a book from somebody else on drawing animals, and it might be so detailed that it's hard for you to see. But this is good because it really breaks it down into simple forms and shapes. Here he's talking about the importance of line. You know, when there's no real shading or anything involved, how much you can show just with line and no gray tones or anything. This is a nice one for shortening. Goes into some perspective here. This book is really a primer, you know, just to kind of get you going until you can really delve in with something else that goes into more detail. This is nice, though, for the female figure. Nice flow to her figure and such. You know, this is pretty static. Here, her hips are not stationary like here, so the weight is on this one leg, and this leg is able to flow in a nice rhythm. So far, I think this is the most he spent on one aspect of something, is this female figure. Now remember, Disney guy, so this is more cartoony. But you can see where, you know, the Disney style is in his work. I think that's another reason I really like this book, because I love Disney animation, classic, Disney animation. And this book was originally 1946, so that's what I'm talking about. Pugnacious types. Love that. That's very cool. And like I always say in my drawing tutorials, which if you haven't checked out, go check them out. I do drawing tutorials, try to do at least 3 a month. Construction, construction, construction. Get the foundation down first, and then you can go from there. Stuff is just so nice. Layout. So this is cool. Wrong. Look, 3 trees. It's just really boring. Right. You got nice depth in there. Medium shot. Medium long shot. Sorry. Medium shot. Medium close up. Close up. Long shot. So he describes the different shots. Brush treatment for props. So this guy definitely was more of a brush guy, but you can see the different effects he would get with it. So it gives you some type of rendering ideas. Here showing texture, which is cool. I love seeing these different wrinkles. Nice press suit, very wrinkly suit. Use of black. Now this is funny because I was just looking through some Alex Raymond Jungle Gym, and that was a strip that Alex Raymond did, known for Flash Gordon back in the day in the 40s and 50s. And he would do stuff where 2 people might be around a desk, and he would just throw some black back here like this, just to add weight to the scene. And this is balanced out. Here he says this is a poor example because it's weighted heavy here. And then here, this is monotonous because it's just too symmetrical back there. So you might think it's actually something in the background instead of a design shape like that. And this works out great because if you squint and look at it, you got heavy black here and heavy black here with the white down the center. Little section on drawing cartoon children, which is very helpful because a lot of even realistic comic book artists, when they draw children, and when I drew children in the way back when, I probably fell into this category too, where they looked a little too like miniature adults and not children. So it's better if you have to push the cartooniness on children a little more. Section on dogs, nice. You think this would have been by the animal section, but again, just seeing the construction underneath that he's doing to get to the final. So important. Study that, learn it. And the last bit right there. And then that is it. And from the original edition, Ken Hultgren is the creator of several popular strips currently appearing in some of America's top comic magazines. His natural ability as a cartoonist was developed and perfected by years of technical training and by experience gained in Disney's and other Hollywood studios where he held positions as animator, layout man, and story director. He did war posters, co-author, illustrator of Daddy and the Gollum, an unusual, delightfully entertaining children's storybook based upon an imaginative animal world to be published in June 1946. So yeah, that's where it goes back to. And then you can see right here, this little thumbnail here is The Art of Animal Drawing. Highly, highly recommend getting this. Such a great book. And he goes into a ton of detail. Like I said, I think this is basically like a good primer book that he did. But I thought it was great. You know, a lot of the books I show you guys, I buy sight unseen because I'm just willing to take a chance. Some work out, some don't. This one definitely did. Thanks for watching this video. Guys, Lilith, Infernal Conflict, my next graphic novel from Astonishing Comics, from the world of Kordrath, launches August 1st. There is a link in the description below to sign up. Go sign up. So if you sign up and when you back the book, I'm going to be sending out 2 secret tiers that'll get you a nice discount for signing up. And when we finally start fulfilling the book next year, you'll be front of the line shipping. Thanks for watching. I'll check you guys later. Subscribe to the channel. Bye-bye, everybody.